The man who entered Bell and Thread at 11:47 wore a charcoal coat worth more than the shop's yearly rent. He did not browse the mannequins. He did not admire the hand-stitched gowns displayed beneath the warm brass lights. He closed the door behind him, turned the lock, and studied the narrow room as though calculating how many exits it had. Mara Bell kept one hand beneath the cutting table, close to the heavy tailor's shears. "We're closed," she said. The man's gaze settled on her. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and composed in the way dangerous men often were. No wasted movements, no need to prove anything. "The sign says midnight. The sign is optimistic." A faint line appeared between his eyebrows. Not anger, interest. He removed his gloves. "I need a suit repaired. Try a dry cleaner. They recommended you." Mara's fingers tightened around the shears. No dry cleaner in Chicago would send a stranger to her after hours. Her shop had survived for 12 years because she noticed details other people missed. Uneven hems, false smiles, the tiny tremor in a customer's hand when they lied about why a dress needed altering. This man's coat was wet from rain, but his shoes were dry. Someone had driven him to the door. "Who recommended me?" He placed a folded garment bag on the table. A dark stain had soaked through the canvas. Mara released the shears and unzipped the bag. Inside lay a black tuxedo jacket. The left sleeve was torn near the shoulder. One lapel had been sliced cleanly through. A thick, rust-colored patch marked the lining. Blood. She looked at him. "Not mine," he said. "That doesn't help. It wasn't meant to." A black sedan waited across the street, its windows tinted. Another vehicle idled behind it. Mara saw no one inside either car, but she felt watched. She touched the fabric, Italian wool. Custom weave. The jacket had been made for someone powerful, someone accustomed to perfection. "There's too much damage," she said. "Replacing the panel will change the drape. You can fix it. You don't know that. I know your work." Her attention sharpened. The man reached into his coat slowly and placed a photograph beside the jacket. Mara recognized the ivory wedding gown immediately. She had designed it 3 years earlier for a woman who never returned to collect it. The picture showed that same woman wearing the gown beneath the marble arches of St. Clement's Church. Beside her stood a groom whose face had been torn from the photograph. Mara's mouth went dry. "Where did you get this?" "You made the dress. That wasn't my question. What happened to the bride?" The rain struck harder against the windows. Mara folded the photograph once, hiding the woman's face. "Leave." The man did not move. "She disappeared 6 hours after that picture was taken," he said. "The police called it a runaway bride. Her family called it shame. I call it unfinished business." Mara pushed the photograph toward him. "I'm a tailor. You're the last person she visited before the wedding. That was 3 years ago. She left something here." The certainty in his voice chilled her more than the rain. He knew. Mara had spent 3 years pretending she had forgotten the package hidden beneath the loose floorboard in her fitting room. A slim leather envelope, no return address, one sentence written across the front in the bride's hand. "Give this only to the man with the silver thimble." No one had ever come for it. Until now. Mara looked at his bare hands. No ring, no thimble. "You have the wrong shop." His jaw shifted. Behind the restraint, something colder stirred. "My name is Luca DeSantis." She knew the name. Everyone in Chicago did. The DeSantis family owned restaurants, construction firms, warehouses, and half the politicians who pretended not to know them. Newspapers called Luca a businessman. Detectives used quieter words when microphones were absent. Mara had expected a Mafia boss to be loud, cruel, decorated with gold and arrogance. Luca DeSantis stood motionless beneath the shop's amber lights. and looked like a man who had trained his emotions to obey him. "The bride was my sister," he said. Mara's eyes returned to the damaged tuxedo. "Then whose blood is this?" Luca reached for the zipper, but she blocked his hand. "If I'm expected to work on a crime scene, I deserve an answer." His gaze dropped to her fingers against his wrist. Mara did not withdraw them. Most people did. That appeared to matter. "The jacket belonged to my cousin," he said. "He was attacked tonight. Is he alive?" "For now. And you brought me his clothes, instead of taking them to the police. The police already have what I wanted them to have." Mara let go of him. Luca turned the jacket inside out. Near the lower hem, several stitches had been cut and re-sewn with pale blue thread. Her thread. Mara leaned closer. She knew every spool in her shop. That blue silk had been discontinued 5 years earlier. She had used the final length on the missing bride's gown. Someone had opened this jacket with thread stolen from her shop. A small shape pressed beneath the lining. Mara took a seam ripper from her apron. Luca covered her hand. Careful. Then stepped back. His expression did not change, but he removed his hand. She cut 3 stitches. A brass key dropped onto the table. Its bow was shaped like a crescent moon. Mara had seen that symbol before. It was carved beneath her father's old cutting desk. "What does it open?" Luca asked. "I don't know." That was true. His eyes held hers for a moment longer than comfort allowed. "You recognized it." "I recognized the shape." "From where?" Before Mara could answer, the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the shop. Luca moved first. One arm pulled Mara behind the cutting table as glass shattered near the front window. A muted crack followed. A bullet struck the mirror above the fitting platform. Mara hit the floor, heart pounding against her ribs. Luca drew a pistol from beneath his coat. "Stay down. Don't order me around in my own shop." Another shot tore through a mannequin. Luca glanced at her, almost disbelieving. Mara crawled toward the rear wall. "What are you doing?" "Saving us." She reached beneath a rack of winter coats and pressed her foot against a hidden pedal. A steel shutter dropped across the front windows. Her father had installed it after a robbery when she was 16. The gunfire stopped. A car engine roared outside. Luca crossed to the side window and watched through a narrow gap in the curtains. His face went still. "Did you see them?" Mara asked. "No." "You're lying." He returned the pistol to his coat. "They knew where I was. They also knew what you brought." His attention shifted to the brass key. Mara picked it up before he could. "This stays with me. That jacket belongs to my family. This key was sewn with my thread. The person who used it may have killed my cousin. And the symbol belongs to my father." Silence stretched between them. For the first time, Luca looked surprised. "Your father was Elias Bell." Mara's stomach tightened. "You knew him." "I knew his name." "That's not an answer. It is the only one I have." A metallic sound came from the fitting room. Both of them turned. The door stood slightly open. Mara was certain she had closed it. Luca lifted a finger to his lips and moved through the shop without making a sound. Mara followed, despite the warning in his eyes. He pushed the door inward. The fitting room was empty. A square of floorboard had been removed. The leather envelope was gone. Mara dropped to her knees. "No." Luca scanned the walls. What was taken? She looked at the hollow space where the bride's secret had waited for 3 years. A letter. "From my sister." Mara nodded. His restraint cracked. Not dramatically. His shoulders barely shifted, but the air changed around him. "What did it say?" "I never opened it." "Who knew it was here?" "No one." A whisper of movement came from above. Mara looked up. The ceiling vent hung open. A thin strand of black fabric clung to one screw. Luca removed it and rubbed the cloth between his fingers. Wool blend, cheap. You know fabric? My mother taught me enough to recognize bad tailoring. The answer was so unexpected that Mara almost smiled. Almost. He slipped the strand into his pocket. You're coming with me. No. The person who broke in may return. This is my home. It is now a location tied to 2 attacks and 1 disappearance. I have customers in 8 hours. You have a bullet in your mirror. Mara stood. At 5'7", she had to lift her chin to meet his eyes, but she refused to give him the satisfaction of stepping back. You may control half this city, Mr. DeSantis, but you do not control me. Something unreadable passed across his face. Good, he said quietly. People who obey too easily rarely survive. A phone vibrated inside his coat. He answered, without looking away from her. Yes. The voice on the other end spoke rapidly. Luca's expression hardened. When? A pause. Seal the hospital floor. No visitors. No staff changes until I arrive. He ended the call. Your cousin? Mara asked. He woke up. Then ask him who attacked him. I intend to. Luca reached for the damaged jacket. A folded slip of paper fell from the inner breast pocket. Neither of them had noticed it before. Mara picked it up. The message contained only 7 words. The tailor knows where Elena is buried. Luca read over her shoulder. The room seemed to shrink. Mara heard his breathing change. Your sister's name was Elena, she said. Yes. I didn't know she was dead. No body was ever found. Then this could be a threat. It could be a confession. His voice remained level, but his hand had curled into a fist. Mara turned the paper over. There was writing on the back, faint and unfinished, as if the pen had run dry. Ask Mara about the second bride. Luca stared at the words. Mara felt the blood leave her face. What second bride? He asked. She could not answer. Because 3 years before Elena DeSantis disappeared, another woman had come to Bell and Thread for a wedding dress. That woman had vanished too, and she had been Mara's mother. Mara had not spoken her mother's name in years. Not aloud. Not in the shop where Celeste Bell's sketches still slept inside cracked leather portfolios. Not upstairs in the apartment where her perfume lingered faintly in an old cedar wardrobe. Not even at the cemetery, where an empty grave carried a date no one could prove. Luca watched her fold the note once, then again. You knew another bride disappeared. My mother wasn't another bride. What was she? Mara's eyes lifted. A woman the police stopped looking for. A horn sounded outside. 2 black vehicles pulled to the curb behind Luca's sedan. Men in dark coats emerged, scanning rooftops and alleys. Mara moved toward the front window. Those are yours? Yes. How comforting. They weren't meant to comfort you. One of the men entered through the rear door after Luca disarmed the steel shutter. He had a lean face, grey at the temples, and a scar crossing his lower lip. Boss. His gaze moved to Mara, then to the brass key in her hand. Recognition flashed too quickly for most people to catch. Mara caught it. Luca did too. Raphael, Luca said. What do you know about that key? Raphael's expression emptied. Nothing. He lied smoothly, almost beautifully. Mara slipped the key into her apron pocket. Raphael continued. The street is clear. Shooter used the roof across the intersection. No casing, no camera angle, no witness willing to remember anything. What about the vent? One of our men is checking the roof access. One of your men? Mara asked. Or one of the men who knew Luca was here? Raphael turned to her. You think someone inside the family arranged this? I think strangers don't usually know which ceiling vent leads to a hidden floorboard. The muscles beside Raphael's jaw tightened. Luca's voice remained calm. Take the jacket. Have it examined. No one outside the room touches the key or the note. Raphael reached for the garment bag. Mara stopped him. The jacket stays. His eyebrows rose. You heard the boss. I heard a man give an order in my shop. Raphael glanced at Luca, expecting correction. It did not come. Mara placed the jacket flat beneath the cutting lamp. Whoever resewed the hem copied my stitch spacing, but not my tension. The thread is mine. The hands weren't. She turned the lining toward them. Tiny punctures formed a second row beneath the visible seam. Someone opened this twice, she said. The first person hid the key. The second found it, examined it, and put it back. Why return it? Luca asked. To make sure it reached me. Raphael's stare sharpened. Or to frame you. That note already does that. Mara ran her thumb along the torn lapel. Something stiff pressed beneath the satin near the collar. She cut a narrow line and removed a translucent strip no longer than her finger. A piece of photographic film. Luca held it beneath the lamp. A blurred image showed a woman standing beside an iron gate. Her face was turned away, but the gown she wore was unmistakable. Elena's wedding dress. A date had been printed in one corner. 6 months after she disappeared. She was alive, Mara said. Luca did not answer. His thumb rested over the image, careful not to damage it. For one unguarded second, he looked less like a man feared by the city and more like a brother who had just been handed permission to hope. Raphael took out his phone. I'll have it enhanced. No copies, Luca said. We need to identify the location. We will. Raphael's gaze drifted to Mara again. This time, she saw something colder than suspicion. Fear. A man shouted from the rear hallway. Raphael drew his weapon and moved first. Luca stepped in front of Mara before she could object. The man from the roof appeared in the doorway, breathing hard. There was someone up there. East Side fire escape. He got away. Description? Raphael asked. Male, medium build, black coat. That narrows it down to half of Chicago, Mara said. The man held out a silver object wrapped in a handkerchief. A thimble, he said. He dropped it. Mara's pulse stumbled. Luca unfolded the cloth. The thimble was old, tarnished, and engraved with a crescent moon. It matched the brass key. Mara reached for it, but Luca closed his hand. The letter was meant for the man with the silver thimble, she said. You never told me that. I'm telling you now. Raphael stepped closer. What letter? The one stolen from beneath the floor. His eyes moved toward the fitting room, too quickly. Mara noticed. You knew where it was, she said. Raphael's face hardened. Choose your next words carefully. I don't need to. Your eyes chose them for me. Luca looked between them. Raphael's voice dropped. Boss, she is connected to 2 missing women, a planted key, and a message naming her. We should not be discussing family matters in front of her. Mara laughed once, without humor. Your family matters came through my window with bullets. Luca slipped the thimble into his coat. Enough. Raphael went silent. We go to the hospital, Luca said. Mara comes with me. No, Raphael replied. The room changed. No one contradicted Luca DeSantis. But Raphael seemed to realize it only after the word left his mouth. Luca's expression did not shift. Explain. If Matteo saw who attacked him, we secure his statement first. Bringing an outsider creates risk. She is not an outsider anymore. The words landed with more force than Luca seemed to intend. Mara studied him. Raphael's gaze lowered. Understood. 10 minutes later, Mara sat in the rear of Luca's armored sedan, while Bell and Thread disappeared behind rain-streaked glass. She had locked the key inside a hidden pocket sewn into her dress. Luca had watched her do it without comment. Across from her, he examined the photograph again. "You loved your sister," Mara said. His eyes stayed on the film. "That isn't a question." "No." "Then why say it?" "Because everyone speaks about men like you, as though love is a weakness you had surgically removed." A faint shadow touched his mouth. Not quite a smile. "And what do you believe?" "I believe people become most dangerous around the things they cannot afford to lose." The car passed beneath an elevated train. Steel thunder rolled overhead. Luca placed the film inside his wallet. "My sister was 26 when she vanished. She trusted easily. She believed people meant what they said. You say that as though kindness killed her. In my family, trust can." Mara looked toward the city sliding past them. "My mother trusted no one. She still disappeared." "When?" 6 years ago. The police report said she abandoned you." Mara turned sharply. "You read the report?" "I had it sent to me after I recognized your father's name." "You knew who I was before you came inside." "I knew Elias Bell had a daughter." "That isn't the same thing." "No." His honesty irritated her more than an excuse would have. "What else did the report say?" "That Celeste Bell withdrew money, packed a suitcase, and left a note. The handwriting was hers. The words weren't." Luca's attention sharpened. "How can you be certain?" "My mother never called me darling, not once. She called me Birdie when she loved me, and Mara when she was angry." The note began, "My darling girl." The tires hissed over wet pavement. Luca looked down at his hands. "Did you tell the police?" "They said grief makes people invent patterns." "And your father?" "He vanished 3 months later." Luca's gaze lifted. Mara's fingers pressed against the hidden key. "You thought he was dead," Luca said. "I was told he was." "By whom?" "An attorney named Nathan Vale. He arrived with my father's ring and documents transferring the shop to me." "Was there a body?" "No." The sedan slowed outside a private hospital entrance. Luca did not open the door. "Nathan Vale handled Elena's prenuptial agreement," he said. "The connection sat between them, alive and breathing." Mara stared at him. "Is he still practicing?" "He died 2 years ago." "How?" "Car accident." "You don't believe that?" "I don't believe in accidents that erase useful witnesses." The door opened. Raphael stood beneath a black umbrella. "Matteo is conscious," he said, "but there is a problem." They entered through a service corridor guarded by 4 armed men. Nurses avoided eye contact. An elevator took them to the top floor, where every door had been sealed except one. A doctor waited outside Matteo's room. "He has trauma to the chest and shoulder," she said. "He is sedated, but responsive. Do not agitate him." Luca stepped inside. Mara followed. Matteo DeSantis looked younger than she expected. Barely 30. His skin was grey beneath the bruising, and a bandage covered most of his left shoulder. His eyes opened at Luca's voice. "Who did this?" Matteo swallowed. "Did you find the jacket?" "Yes." "The key?" Luca glanced at Mara. Matteo followed his gaze. The monitor beside him began to beep faster. "It's her," he whispered. Mara approached the bed. "Do you know me?" His hand trembled above the blanket. "You look like Celeste. You knew my mother." Matteo's breath caught. Raphael moved closer to the bed. Too close. Matteo noticed and went rigid. Luca placed himself between them. "Raphael," he said, "wait outside." Raphael did not move. "Boss, now." After a long moment, he left. The door shut. Matteo's eyes remained fixed on it. "He was there," he whispered. Luca leaned closer. At the attack. At the church. Mara's skin prickled. Elena's wedding? She asked. Matteo nodded weakly. Everyone was at the wedding, Luca said. No. Matteo coughed, pain twisting his face. After. Beneath the church. Luca's composure tightened. There is nothing beneath St. Clement's except storage. There's a tunnel. The room fell silent. Matteo looked at Mara. Your mother made the dresses. Dresses, she repeated. Elena's gown and the other one. Mara felt the walls tilt around her. What other one? Matteo's eyes fluttered. Keep talking, Luca said. The bride in the tunnel. The heart monitor accelerated. The doctor pushed through the door, but Matteo gripped Mara's wrist with surprising strength. She wasn't dead, he gasped. Neither of them was. Mara bent closer. Where are they? His lips moved. No sound came. Then he whispered one word. Blackwood. The doctor forced Mara back as alarms sounded. Nurses flooded the room. Luca pulled her toward the wall while they worked over Matteo. A syringe rolled beneath the bed. The doctor saw it. Her face changed. That isn't ours. Luca released Mara. What is it? The doctor picked it up carefully. A paralytic. Mara looked toward the closed door. Someone had tried to silence Matteo before they arrived. A nurse checked the IV line and froze. There's a second puncture in the port. Luca opened the door. Raphael was gone. So were two guards. The hallway elevator displayed a descending number. Luca took out his phone, issuing orders in a voice stripped of warmth. Lock every exit. Stop his car. Bring him to me alive. Mara watched the numbers fall. 7, 6, 5. A phone rang inside Matteo's discarded jacket on a nearby chair. Luca found it in the inner pocket. The screen showed no caller name. He answered. A distorted voice spoke through static. Bring the tailor and the key to Blackwood House before midnight tomorrow. Luca's eyes met Mara's. What happens if I don't? A pause. Then a woman's voice came through the line, faint but unmistakably alive. Mara. The phone slipped in her hand. She knew that voice. Older, weaker, but she knew it. Mum. The call ended. Mara kept the dead phone pressed to her ear. The hospital room moved around her in fragments. Rubber soles against tile, the sharp command of the doctor, Luca's men flooding the corridor, but her mother's voice remained trapped in the silence after the call. Mara? Not Birdie. Not darling. Her name. The way Celeste said it when fear left no room for tenderness. Luca took the phone from Mara's hand and examined the screen. Can you trace it? She asked. Not from this device. That was her. I believe you. You don't know her voice. I know what certainty looks like. Behind them, the monitor settled into a steady rhythm. Matteo had survived the poison, though the doctor refused to say when he might wake again. Mara gripped the edge of the chair. Blackwood House. Where is it? A private estate north of the city. Owned by whom? It has changed hands through shell companies for 20 years. That means you know exactly who owns it. Luca's silence answered her. She stepped closer. Tell me. My uncle. Mara stared at him. Vittorio DeSantis, Luca continued. My father's older brother. Is he alive? He disappeared the same year Elena did. The room seemed colder. You never thought the two disappearances were connected. I thought Vittorio arranged hers. And now? Now someone wants us to believe he did. Luca slipped Matteo's phone into his coat. Mara blocked the door before he could leave. We go to Blackwood. No. You heard my mother. I heard a voice on a compromised line. You said you believed me. I believe it was Celeste. I also believe whoever is holding her chose every word. Mara did not move. Then we choose what happens next. Luca looked at her for a long moment. We? My key, my mother, my shop, my sister. The words struck hard enough to quiet them both. Neither looked away. Luca stepped closer, lowering his voice. We go on my terms. We learn the house before we enter it. We identify every road, tunnel, guard, and camera. We do not walk into a trap because someone gave us a deadline. Mara's jaw tightened. How long? Until sunrise. We were told midnight tomorrow, which means they expect panic tonight. A commotion erupted near the elevator. 2 guards dragged Raphael into the corridor. Blood marked the side of his face. His coat was gone, his hands bound behind him. He walked without resistance. Mara saw the crescent symbol before anyone else did. It had been burned into the skin below his left ear. Luca's men forced him into an empty room. Raphael looked at Mara as he passed. Your mother should have stayed gone. Luca hit him once. The blow was controlled, precise, and brutal enough to send Raphael into the wall. No one moved. Luca gripped the front of his shirt. Say her name again. Raphael smiled through the blood on his teeth. Which one? Mara entered before the guards could stop her. What happened beneath St. Clement's? Raphael's eyes shifted toward her. You really don't know. Know what? That your mother started all of this. Luca released him. Raphael leaned against the wall, breathing slowly. Celeste Bell made more than dresses, he said. She built hiding places, codes in seams, maps in embroidery, messages no customs officer would ever find. Mara felt the hidden key against her ribs. My mother was a tailor. She was a courier. You're lying. She moved documents for Vittorio. Names, bank records, payments to judges, police captains, ministers. Your father kept the copies. Mara shook her head. Elias Bell had spent his days bent over jackets and bridal gowns. He sang badly when he worked. He forgot birthdays and remembered every customer's measurements. He was not a spy. Raphael watched disbelief move across her face. Your parents were very good at appearing ordinary. Luca's voice hardened. Why was Elena involved? She wasn't supposed to be. What does that mean? Raphael looked down at his bound hands. Vittorio believed your father was stealing from him. He planned to expose him during the wedding. Elena overheard enough to understand someone would die. Luca's face became still. So she ran. No. Raphael lifted his head. She chose a side. The door opened behind them. One of Luca's men entered carrying Raphael's recovered coat. We found this in the stairwell. He placed a small recorder on the table. Raphael closed his eyes. Luca pressed play. Static filled the room, followed by Elena's voice. The recording was old. Her words trembled beneath the hiss. Luca, if you hear this, I couldn't tell you before the wedding. Uncle Vittorio has been using father's accounts to move money for someone outside the family. The records are hidden in my dress. Celeste showed me where. Do not trust. The recording cut off. Mara reached for the device. That's all? The guard shook his head. There are several files. Luca selected the next one. A man spoke this time. Nathan Vale. Mara remembered his soft voice, his polished shoes, the ring he had placed in her palm after her father vanished. The Bell girl knows nothing, Vale said on the recording. Keep it that way. Once Celeste completes the second gown, move her to Blackwood. Elias will follow. Another voice answered. Raphael's. And Elena. A pause. Vittorio wants her alive. The recording ended. Luca turned toward Raphael. You knew. Raphael stared at the floor. You knew my sister survived. I knew she left the church alive. For 3 years, you let me bury an empty coffin. I was protecting you. Luca's expression did not change, which frightened Mara more than rage would have. From what? From the truth about your father. The air thickened. Luca's father, Don Marcelo DeSantis, had died 5 years earlier. Newspapers called it heart failure. The city closed restaurants in mourning. Luca stepped back. My father ordered Elena taken. Raphael said nothing. That is what you are telling me. He believed she had betrayed the family. She was his daughter. He believed the family came first. Luca turned away. His hand rested against the table, fingers spread, as though the floor had shifted beneath him. Mara understood that posture. She had stood the same way after reading her mother's false goodbye. Raphael spoke more softly. I got Elena out of the tunnel. Luca looked over his shoulder. You? She was supposed to be delivered to Vittorio's men. I changed the vehicle. Where did you take her? To Celeste. Mara's breath stopped. At Blackwood? No, a safe house near the lake. Then why did she vanish? Because someone followed us. Who? Raphael's eyes moved toward the recorder. The man financing Vittorio. Name him. I never learned it. Luca crossed the room and grabbed Raphael by the throat. You expect me to believe that? I heard his voice once. He called himself the Regent. Mara thought of the crescent key, the silver thimble, the notes hidden inside clothing, a system of symbols, a network built to survive dead men. What happened at the safe house? She asked. Raphael struggled against Luca's grip. Fire. Luca released him. Raphael coughed. There were 3 bodies, he said. None could be identified. But Elena was photographed 6 months later, Mara said. Yes. So someone escaped. At least 2 people did. Celeste and Elena, Luca said. Maybe. Mara stepped closer. And my father. Raphael looked at her with something that resembled pity. He arrived after the fire. Then where is he? Raphael swallowed. I killed him. The words entered the room quietly. Mara heard no dramatic crash, no cry, only the thin buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. She crossed the distance between them and slapped Raphael hard enough to turn his face. He did not resist. Where? She asked. Near the lake. Where is his body? There isn't one. Her hand curled into a fist. You said you killed him. I shot him. He fell from the pier. Did you see him drown? No. Then you don't know. Raphael's mouth tightened. I saw blood in the water. You don't know. Mara turned away before her voice betrayed her. Luca stood close enough that the back of her hand brushed his coat. He did not touch her. He simply remained there. It was steadier than comfort. One of the guards returned. Boss, we pulled traffic feeds from outside Bell and Thread. Raphael wasn't the shooter. Luca looked at him. Who was? We don't have a face, but the body type doesn't match. Raphael left the hospital because he received a message. The guard placed a printed image on the table. It showed the text displayed on Raphael's phone. We have your daughter. Mara looked at Raphael. You have a child. His face closed. Luca's eyes narrowed. You told me Sophia died with her mother. I believed she did. How old is she? 17. Where has she been? I don't know. The guard continued. The message included a photograph taken tonight. He placed it beside the phone image. A teenage girl sat bound to a chair. Dark hair covered half her face. Behind her stood a stone wall marked with a crescent moon. Blackwood. Raphael stared at the picture as though it might stop existing if he looked long enough. They told me to leave the floor unguarded, he said. I refused. Then they sent a video of her. You ran, Luca said. I thought I could trade myself. You betrayed the security detail. For my daughter. Luca's jaw tightened. Mara understood the impossible shape of the choice. That did not make it harmless. What else did they demand? She asked. Raphael's eyes went to her dress. The key. Mara covered the hidden pocket instinctively. Luca noticed. So everyone needs the same object, she said. But no one knows what it opens. Raphael looked at her. Your father knew. A low alarm sounded in the corridor. The lights flickered. Every phone in the room lit up at once. The same message appeared on each screen. Midnight has moved. Beneath it, a live video began to play. Celeste sat inside a dim room, older and thinner than Mara remembered. Grey threaded her dark hair. One wrist was chained to a wooden chair. Beside her sat Luca DeSantis, alive. Luca stepped toward the screen. His sister's face had changed, but there was no mistaking her eyes. Elena looked directly into the camera. Luca, don't bring the key. A masked man entered the frame. He placed a pistol against Celeste's temple. Elena continued, speaking faster. The key does not open Blackwood. It opens the vault beneath St. Clement's. The Regent wants what our fathers hid there. The masked man struck her. Luca's hand tightened around the phone. Celeste lifted her head. Mara, listen to me. The second bride was never me. Mara stared at the screen. Her mother's chained hand moved once, 2 fingers brushing her palm. A childhood signal. Someone is lying. The second bride, Celeste said, was Luca's mother. The video ended. Silence held the room. Luca's mother had died when he was 12. Mara remembered seeing her face in old newspaper photographs. Isabella DeSantis, elegant, distant, buried after a boating accident. Raphael had gone pale. Luca noticed. What do you know? Raphael looked toward the door, as though measuring whether escape was possible. Then he spoke. Isabella DeSantis did not die in that boat. Luca stepped closer. Where is she? Raphael's answer was barely audible. She is the Regent. Luca did not react. That frightened Mara more than anger would have. He stood beneath the fluorescent lights with the phone still in his hand. His sister's frozen face reflected across the dark screen. Raphael remained against the wall, blood drying at the corner of his mouth. Say it again, Luca said. Raphael's voice roughened. Your mother survived the boat and became the Regent. I don't know when she took the name. Luca stepped closer. You served my family for 20 years. Yes. You stood beside me at her funeral. Yes. You watched me carry her coffin. Raphael looked down. It was empty. Luca struck him. This time, Raphael fell. No one moved to help. Mara saw the tremor in Luca's hand before he closed it into a fist. It lasted less than a second. Why? He asked. Raphael pushed himself upright against the wall. Isabella discovered Vittorio's network before anyone else. Judges, banks, shipping routes. She realized the family could be controlled without sitting at the head of the table. So she disappeared. She needed Marcello to believe she was dead. My father loved her. Your father owned her. The room went silent. Luca's face hardened. Choose your words carefully. I watched him lock her inside that house for 3 days because she questioned one of his decisions. Luca's eyes did not leave Raphael's. Mara could see him searching his childhood for a memory that fit. A closed bedroom door. A bruise hidden beneath silk. A mother who smiled too carefully. She never told me, Luca said. She was protecting you. That excuse has destroyed enough lives. A guard entered, breathing hard. Boss, Every external camera on this floor just went offline. Luca turned. Backup system? Compromised. Elevators? Locked between floors. The lights failed. Emergency lamps flickered red. A gunshot sounded from the corridor. Luca pulled Mara behind the overturned table as his men drew their weapons. Another shot cracked through the door, followed by a body hitting the floor. The hospital had been sealed. Someone was already inside. Luca pressed a pistol into Mara's hand. She stared at it. "I don't use guns. Tonight, hold it anyway." He moved toward the door. Mara caught his sleeve. "Don't become predictable." His gaze met hers. "The attackers expect you to rush into the corridor. What do you suggest?" She looked toward the ceiling. The service shafts. Raphael understood first. They used the ventilation system at her shop. Luca nodded to two men. "Check above us." One guard climbed onto the table and lifted a ceiling panel. A suppressed shot punched through his throat. He fell without a sound. Mara froze. Blood spread beneath him. Luca fired upward twice. A shape moved above the tiles, then retreated. The attack had not come to rescue Raphael. It had come to kill everyone who knew too much. "Back room," Luca ordered. They moved Matteo's bed toward the connecting treatment room, while gunfire chewed through the outer door. The doctor crouched beside the IV stand, one hand clamped over Matteo's line. Mara stayed near his head. His eyelids fluttered. "Matteo," she whispered, "can you hear me?" His lips moved. She bent closer. "The ring." "What ring?" "Luca's." Mara looked across the room. Luca wore no jewelry. Matteo's breathing grew shallow. "His father's ring," he rasped. "Not his." The outer door buckled. Raphael grabbed a fallen guard's weapon. Luca aimed at him. "Try anything. My daughter is still in that house. That does not make you trustworthy." "No, it makes me useful." Another burst of fire hit the door. Luca lowered his gun. "Prove it." Raphael shot the ceiling light above them. Darkness swallowed the treatment room. A second later, the attackers breached the first room. Raphael fired through the connecting wall where their shadows passed beneath the red emergency glow. Two bodies fell. Luca moved through the doorway and finished the fight in seconds. When the silence returned, 4 masked men lay across the hospital floor. One was still breathing. Luca dragged him against the wall and tore away the mask. The man could not have been older than 25. A crescent moon had been tattooed beneath his tongue. "Who sent you?" Luca asked. The attacker smiled, then bit down. Foam appeared at his lips. Poison. Mara knelt beside him, but his eyes had already emptied. Inside his coat, she found a photograph. It showed Luca entering Bell and Thread earlier that night. On the back, someone had written, "The son will lead the tailor to the vault." Mara held it up. This was planned before the key was found. Luca took the photograph. "No, before I arrived." Raphael looked toward the dead attacker. "Isabella knew you would investigate Elena's dress. She arranged the bloodied jacket," Mara said. "She arranged Matteo's attack," Luca replied. The doctor looked up sharply. "Your cousin nearly died. He was meant to survive long enough to speak." Raphael shook his head. "Isabella would not risk Elena." "You haven't seen her for 14 years, Luca said. "You do not know what she would risk." Matteo made a weak sound. Mara returned to him. "The ring," she said. "What did you mean?" His eyes opened halfway. "Marcello's ring opens the first gate. Where is it?" Matteo's gaze shifted toward Luca. "He has it." Luca's face changed. "My father's signet was buried with him." Matteo swallowed painfully. "No." Raphael whispered a curse. Everyone looked at him. "What?" Luca demanded. Raphael's shoulders sank. Marcello was not buried in the family crypt. Luca crossed the room. I saw the body. You saw a body after the undertaker had prepared it. Whose? I don't know. For the first time, Luca lost control. He shoved Raphael into the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. My father is alive too. No. You no longer get to answer with uncertainty. Raphael's eyes closed. I killed Marcello. Mara stared at him. Luca did not breathe. When? He asked. The night he learned Elena survived. Why? He was going to execute her himself. The words seemed to strike Luca somewhere deeper than grief. Raphael continued before he could be stopped. Isabella ordered me to choose, Marcello or Elena. You chose my sister, yes. And then you served me as though nothing happened. I stayed because Isabella wanted you watched. Luca released him slowly. Everything I built was yours, Mara said. He turned toward her. Your choices were yours. My mother placed a traitor beside me. My father tried to murder my sister. My uncle built a criminal network beneath our own family. Tell me which part belongs to me. The part where you decide what happens next. He looked at her for a long moment. The gun in his hand lowered. A distant alarm began pulsing through the building. Luca's men restored one communication line. A voice crackled through the radio. North stairwell secure. Police units are entering the lobby. Raphael's face tightened. Not police. How do you know? Mara asked. Isabella owns the deputy commissioner. Luca issued orders immediately. Move Matteo through the laundry tunnels. Separate vehicles. No digital routes. The doctor protested, but one look at the bodies silenced her. Mara helped transfer Matteo onto a portable stretcher. As they entered the service corridor, Luca caught her arm. You are not going to Blackwood. She pulled free. My mother is there, and Isabella needs you alive to reach the vault. Exactly. That does not make you bait. It makes me the only leverage we have. Luca's jaw tightened. Mara stepped closer. You told me people who obey too easily rarely survive. That was before I knew what she was capable of. You still don't know. His eyes darkened. I know she killed my father. Raphael killed him, at her command, and your sister lived because of it. The truth landed cruelly. Luca looked away. Mara softened her voice. This is what she does. She makes every choice poisonous. His gaze returned to hers. We do not let her choose for us. For one suspended second, the chaos around them seemed distant. Luca lifted his hand, then stopped before touching her face. The restraint carried more tenderness than contact would have. You should be afraid of me, he said. I'm afraid of what happens when you stop thinking. A faint breath left him. Almost a laugh. Almost pain. Raphael appeared at the end of the corridor. We have a problem. He held the silver thimble beneath the emergency light. A seam ran around its base. Mara took it and twisted carefully. The bottom opened. Inside was a tightly rolled strip of paper. Not paper, silk. She unfolded it across her palm. A hand-drawn map appeared in faded blue ink. Tunnels beneath St. Clement's. A vault at the center. 3 entry points. One had been crossed out. Beside another, Celeste had stitched a warning in tiny red thread. The key opens the vault. The ring opens the gate. The bride opens the truth. Mara looked at Luca. What bride? Raphael answered. Isabella. Luca shook his head. My mother was already married when the tunnel was built. Not that bride. Raphael pointed to a final symbol on the map. A small crown sewn inside a circle. The network required a ceremonial successor. Someone married into control of every account, every judge, every debt. Mara felt cold spread through her. Elena? No, Raphael said. The service doors opened behind them. A woman stood beneath the red emergency light. She wore a nurse's uniform stained with blood. Her grey-streaked hair had been cut short, but Mara recognized her before the woman spoke. Celeste Bell raised a pistol toward Luca. "Step away from my daughter." Mara could not move. Her mother was alive, free, and holding a weapon. "Mom?" Celeste's face broke for one heartbeat, then hardened again. "You were never supposed to find the key." Luca lifted his gun. Mara stepped between them. "Where is Elena?" Celeste looked at Luca. "With Isabella." "Why are you here?" Mara asked. "To stop you from opening the vault. You called me from Blackwood." "No." The word cut through the corridor. "The woman on the phone was not me." Mara stared at her. Celeste reached beneath her uniform and removed a necklace. Elias Bell's wedding ring hung from the chain. "Your father is alive," she said. Hope rose too fast, sharp enough to hurt. "Where?" Celeste's eyes filled. "He is the man you know as Vittorio DeSantis." No one spoke. Mara shook her head. "That's impossible. Elias Bell never existed," Celeste said. "It was the name Vittorio used when he disappeared from the family." Luca's weapon lowered by an inch. Mara heard the pieces moving into place. Her father's knowledge of the crescent, her mother's secret work. Raphael recognizing Elias Bell's name. The attorney bringing a ring but no body. Celeste stepped closer. "And Mara," she said, her voice breaking at last. "Luca is not Isabella's son." Luca went completely still. Celeste looked from him to Mara. "He is mine." Part 5. Luca's gun lowered. Mara's did not. The corridor lights pulsed red across Celeste's face, illuminating the fine lines that 6 missing years had carved around her eyes. "He is mine," Celeste repeated, "but not in the way you think." Luca's expression hardened. "You have 10 seconds to explain." "I gave birth to you." The words seemed to drain every sound from the corridor. Mara looked from Celeste to Luca. "No," she said. Celeste's eyes remained on him. Isabella could not safely carry a child. Marcello needed an heir and would have discarded her if she failed. Vittorio arranged everything. "I carried you under another name." Luca's face revealed nothing, but his fingers tightened around the pistol. "And Mara." Celeste finally looked at her daughter. Isabella's child. The floor seemed to shift beneath Mara. Celeste stepped forward. "You were born 18 months later. Marcello never knew. Isabella feared what he would make of you, so we exchanged lives. I raised you. She let the world believe Luca was hers." Mara's throat closed. "You are saying my mother is the woman holding Elena hostage." "I am your mother," Celeste said. "You know what I mean." Pain moved across Celeste's face. "She gave you life. I gave you everything I could afterward." Mara thought of hands guiding hers through her first stitch. Warm soup left beside her bed when she was sick. A woman standing in the rain after Mara's first heartbreak, holding an umbrella without asking questions. Blood did not erase any of it. But it changed the shape of the room. Luca looked toward Raphael. "You knew. Only part of it. Everyone knew part of my life except me." Celeste raised the pistol again, this time toward the stairwell. "You can hate us after we survive." A metallic scrape sounded beyond the service doors. Boots. Many of them. Celeste reached beneath her uniform and tossed Luca a black signet ring. Marcello's crest gleamed across its face. "The police downstairs belong to Isabella," she said. "The hospital attack was meant to force us into the tunnels." "Then why help her?" Mara asked. "I wasn't helping her. I escaped Blackwood when Elena attacked a guard." Isabella allowed it because she knew I would come to you. Luca studied the ring. She wants us beneath St. Clement's. Yes. Then that is where we go. Mara stared at him. You said we would not let her choose. We won't. His gaze settled on hers. She expects frightened children. We arrive as something else. Gunfire struck the service doors. Raphael lifted his weapon. The laundry tunnel leads to the church district. Celeste moved beside him. You still owe me for shooting Vittorio. He survived. You did not know he would. Raphael gave her a tired look. Neither did he. They retreated as the doors burst open. Luca's men held the corridor while Mara, Luca, Celeste, Raphael, and Matteo's doctor pushed through the hospital's underground passage. Matteo was moved to a secure vehicle at the first exit. Before the doors closed, he caught Mara's hand. Bring Elena home. Mara squeezed his fingers once. We will. Rain washed the streets silver as they crossed the city through service alleys and abandoned rail access roads. St. Clement's rose from the darkness before midnight, its stone towers cutting into the clouds. The front doors stood open. No priest waited inside. Candles burned along the aisle, leading toward the altar. A woman in ivory stood beneath the crucifix. Elena. Her wedding gown had yellowed with age. The hem was torn, but Mara recognized every stitch her mother had placed into it. Elena held Raphael's daughter by one hand. Sophia was frightened, bruised, and alive. Luca took one step forward. Elena. His sister's face broke. Then a pistol pressed against her back. Isabella emerged from behind the altar. She was older than the photographs, yet unmistakable. Mara saw her own eyes in the woman's face and wished she did not. Both heirs, Isabella said. Together, at last. Mara's voice remained steady. Release them. Isabella smiled. You sound like Celeste. She raised me, and I saved you. You abandoned me. I placed you beyond Marcello's reach. You placed me inside a lie. Isabella's smile faded. Behind her, armed men appeared along the side aisles. Luca counted them without moving his head. Where is Vittorio? He asked. Waiting below. Alive? For the moment. Celeste stepped from the shadows. Isabella's expression sharpened. You always were difficult to keep imprisoned. You always confused loyalty with ownership. Isabella pressed the gun harder against Elena. Open the vault. Luca held up the ring. Mara has the key. And Elena is the bride, Isabella said. The 3 bloodlines restore the network. Elena's voice trembled. There are no 3 bloodlines. Vittorio created that story to control you. Isabella struck her. Luca moved. Every weapon in the church turned toward him. Mara caught his wrist. Not yet. He looked at her. She lowered her eyes toward Elena's gown. The embroidery near the waist formed an uneven pattern. Celeste had taught Mara that pattern when she was a child. 2 short stitches, 1 long, 3 short. Cut the lights. Mara glanced toward the candle ropes above the aisle. Raphael followed her gaze. He understood. Isabella ordered them toward the altar. A hidden door opened beneath the marble steps, revealing a narrow staircase. They descended into the tunnel. Stone walls closed around them. Water dripped from rusted pipes. The crescent symbol appeared at every turn until they reached an iron gate. Luca inserted Marcello's ring. The lock opened. Beyond it waited a circular vault door. Mara removed the brass key from her dress. Isabella watched with bright, hungry eyes. Your father designed that mechanism. Which father? Mara asked. Vittorio. Elias. He wore names the way lesser men wore coats. Mara inserted the key but did not turn it. What is inside? Enough evidence to control every person who ever controlled us. Not freedom. Isabella's gaze cooled. Freedom is what powerful people call control when it belongs to them. Mara looked at Elena. The bride opens the truth. Elena stepped toward the vault. A narrow panel waited beside the lock. Embroidered fabric stretched across it like a frame. Elena tore a strip from the inner layer of her gown. Numbers had been stitched beneath the lining. She placed the fabric against the panel. The mechanism clicked. Isabella smiled. "Open it." Mara turned the key. The vault door moved. Raphael shot the nearest light. Darkness swallowed the tunnel. Luca pulled Mara behind the stone arch as Celeste fired toward Isabella's guards. Elena dragged Sophia to the floor. Gunshots thundered through the chamber, flashes illuminating faces for fractions of a second. Mara crawled toward the vault. Inside were ledgers, recordings, photographs, account books, and sealed files stacked from floor to ceiling. At the center sat an old transmitter, still active. Vittorio had not hidden evidence. He had built a broadcast system. A hand seized Mara's hair. Isabella pulled her backward and pressed a gun beneath her jaw. "Tell Luca to drop his weapon." Luca emerged from the darkness. Blood marked his shoulder. His pistol remained raised. Isabella smiled at him. "You were always too much like Celeste." "And Mara is too much like you," Luca said. Isabella's grip tightened. "No. She wastes her strength on kindness." Mara met Luca's eyes. He looked at her hand. She still held the brass key. The sharpened edge faced upward. Mara drove it into Isabella's wrist. The pistol fired into the ceiling. Luca crossed the distance before the echo died and tore Isabella away from her. He could have killed her. Mara saw the decision in his face. Instead, he disarmed her and forced her to her knees. "No more empty coffins," he said. "You answer for everything in daylight." A voice came from inside the vault. "Then turn on the transmitter." A wounded man stepped from behind the shelves. Mara knew his eyes before Celeste whispered his name. Vittorio. Her father looked older, thinner, but the same crooked smile appeared when he saw Mara. "Birdie." She crossed the room and struck him across the face. He accepted it. Then she pulled him into her arms. His body shook once. "I am sorry," he whispered. "You will need better words than that. I have ledgers full of them." Vittorio activated the transmitter. Every file inside the vault began uploading to journalists, federal investigators, foreign courts, and independent archives he had selected years earlier. Isabella stared at the blinking lights. "You destroyed the family." Luca looked at Elena, at Mara, at the people who had survived every attempt to turn love into obedience. "No," he said, "you did." Sirens reached the church before dawn. The evidence brought down judges, officers, financiers, and the deputy commissioner. Isabella was arrested. Vittorio surrendered with the records needed to dismantle the remaining network. Raphael exchanged his testimony for a reduced sentence, and Sophia visited him every week. Elena went home with Luca. Not to the DeSantis estate, to a quiet house near the lake, where she could sleep without locked doors. Months later, Bell and Thread reopened. The bullet-damaged mirror remained on the wall. Mara refused to replace it. One evening, Luca entered at 11:47, wearing the first suit she had made for him. No blood, no hidden key. The jacket fit perfectly. "You're late," she said. "The sign says midnight." The sign is still optimistic. He placed a small velvet box on the cutting table. Mara looked at it, but did not open it. "You know I don't obey orders. I would never ask you to. What are you asking?" Luca came around the table. He had learned not to hide every feeling from her, Some still arrived carefully, but they arrived. A life built without secrets, he said. One where your work remains yours, your choices remain yours, and I earn every day you give me. Mara opened the box. Inside rested no diamond, only the silver thimble, restored and polished, with a new engraving beneath the crescent moon. Mara Bell, no one's pawn. She smiled. That is a terrible proposal. Luca's mouth curved. I had a better speech. You should have brought it. I can try again. Mara took the thimble from the box and slipped it onto her finger. Tomorrow. His hand settled at her waist. And tonight? She kissed him before he could finish. Outside, Chicago moved beneath the rain, full of old crimes, new beginnings, and people learning that family was not the blood that claimed them. It was the love that set them free.